Have you ever wondered what it truly means to be invisible? To walk through a world where everyone looks at you, but no one sees you? Have you ever asked yourself why some people are born into power, while others are born only to be stepped on? Or why the moon goddess chooses some wolves as alphas and lunas, and leaves others scraping the floorboards, begging for scraps? Questions like these haunted Lyria Hales every morning. She opened her eyes in the lowest corner of the Bloodfang Pack house basement, and she always came to the same answer. Some wolves were born to rule, others were born to suffer. At least, that was a lie she had believed her whole life. The cold stone floor pressed against Lyria's cheek as she blinked awake. Dawn hadn't even broken yet, but she could already hear boots stomping above her, warriors preparing for morning drills. The vibration shook dust from the low ceiling, speckling her tangled dark hair with gray powder. It was always like this. The pack house was alive with energy, purpose, strength, while she, the lowest ranked Omega, was alive with bruises, exhaustion, and fear. Lyria pushed herself upright, rubbing warmth back into her arms. Her bones felt too light, her wrists too thin, her entire body carved out by months of skipped meals. But this wasn't new. Omegas like her were expected to live on scraps. And Lyria? Well, Lyria wasn't just an Omega. She was the weakest Omega Bloodfang had ever seen. Her scent was faint, barely noticeable to anyone. Her wolf was silent, hiding deep inside her as if afraid of the world. She shifted only once as a child, and even then it was so incomplete that no one believed it had happened at all. Some joked that she didn't even have a wolf. Others said the goddess had forgotten her during creation, but they never said these things to her face. They didn't need to. Their eyes said it every day. With stiff movements, Lyria wrapped the thin blanket tighter around herself. The pack house basement was more like a dungeon. No windows, no insulation, just stone walls sweating with dampness. She slept beside the old storage crates, where broken furniture went to rot. A metallic clang came from above. Lyria. The voice was sharp enough to cut flesh. Beta Selene. Lyria scrambled to her feet. Why, yes, Beta. The basement door slammed open. Selene stood there looking like disappointment carved into flesh, tall, muscular, blonde hair braided in immaculate precision, lips curled in disdain. You're late, Selene snapped. Lyria bowed her head. I wasn't aware I was needed. You're always needed. Selene stepped into the basement, her boots crunching on bits of broken wood. The pack house kitchen is a disaster after last night. The warriors devoured everything like starving beasts. Clean it before the morning ceremony. Lyria's fingers tightened on her blanket. Today was the moonrise ceremony, a sacred day. A day when the moon goddess revealed mates. A day when wolves found their other halves. Most Omegas looked forward to this day with desperate hope. Lyria feared it, but she forced a nod. Yes, Beta. Selene's eyes narrowed. And fix your appearance. You look like a feral stray. Then she turned and left, leaving the door wide open, an unspoken order for Lyria to move faster. Lyria pulled in a breath. Her chest stung with a familiar ache. No matter how many years passed, no matter how many floors she scrubbed or buckets she carried, she never stopped hoping today might be different. Maybe the goddess would give her a mate who wouldn't be ashamed of her, someone who would treat her like she wasn't broken, someone who would see her, really see her. But hope was dangerous. Hope made pain sharper. Still, as she climbed the rickety stairs and emerged into the soft golden glow of lantern lights, a small spark of hope flickered in her chest. Maybe, just maybe, the pack house kitchen smelled of burnt meat and stale beer. Plates were stacked everywhere, and pots large enough to bathe and were filled with hardened grease. Lyria rolled up her sleeves and got to work. Hot water splashed onto her arms as she scrubbed. The sting brought tears to her eyes, but she forced her mind elsewhere. Her dreams. She had them every night. Dreams that didn't feel like dreams at all. A silver-haired woman standing in a glowing meadow. eyes like liquid moonlight, a voice soft as starlight, whispering, "My child, you are not what they think." Lyria always reached toward her, but woke up before she could touch her. She never told anyone about the dreams, not even the healer, not even the elders. Dreams like that only meant one thing in Bloodfang: power, ancestry, a connection to the goddess. And Lyria had none of those. At least, that was what she'd been told her entire life. The kitchen door slammed open again. This time, it wasn't the beta. It was Draven Kane, the future alpha of Bloodfang, the strongest wolf in the region, the male every woman in the pack dreamed of. Lyria froze. Draven towered in the doorway, his broad shoulders filling the frame. His dark hair was still damp from training, strands clinging to his sharp jaw. His shirt was peeled halfway off, revealing the sculpted lines of muscle beneath. He radiated dominance, power, absolute authority. And when his golden eyes swept over the room, Lyria felt her heart clench, because she had never seen a wolf so beautiful or so terrifying. Draven barely acknowledged the omegas he passed. He never even looked at Lyria before. She was too insignificant. But this time, he stopped walking. His nostrils flared. His head snapped in her direction. Lyria froze completely. Every cell in her body stilled. It felt like the entire world held its breath. Draven took one step toward her, then another. His eyes darkened. A guttural sound escaped his chest. Lyria's hands trembled around the soapy dish. Her heart beat too loud. No, this wasn't happening. He came closer, closer, until the heat of his body brushed her skin. He inhaled deeply, again and again. Then his wolf surged forward. His aura exploded outward. His voice came out in a growl that shook the entire kitchen. "Mate!" The dish slipped from Lyria's fingers and shattered on the floor. The kitchen went silent. Every omega stared. Every warrior froze. Every breath vanished from the room. Draven's eyes burned gold. His chest heaved. His wolf was roaring inside him. He stepped closer, raising a hand, touching her cheek with trembling fingers. "Moon goddess," he whispered, "you're mine." Lyria's lips parted. Heat flooded her veins. Her heart soared. Mate, a mate, not just any mate, Alpha Draven Kane, the future ruler of Bloodfang Pack, the strongest wolf alive. Her soul screamed that this was fate, that this was her moment, that for once she was a mistake. But then his expression shifted. The wonder faded. The heat died, and something darker replaced it. Disgust. Draven's hand dropped as if her skin burned him. "No," he stepped back. "No, no, no." His breathing turned ragged. His jaw tightened. He shook his head violently. "This can't be right," he snarled. "Not you." Lyria's heart cracked. Alpha Draven, if this story already has your heart racing, don't forget to hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell. That way, you'll never miss the next interesting, addictive tale of betrayal, passion, and fate. Trust me, you'll want to be here for every twist that's coming. Draven turned sharply, eyes blazing with fury. "You," he spat, "a pathetic omega, the weakest wolf in the entire pack? You dare stand there with that look on your face?" Lyria's knees weakened. Draven's wolf growled inside him, but the alpha forced it down. "Listen carefully, Lyria Hales," he said, every word a blade. "I, Draven Kane, future alpha of Bloodfang Pack, reject you as my mate." The ground disappeared beneath her feet. Pain, pure, blinding pain. Agony tore through her soul, ripping the bond apart from the inside. She screamed. Her body collapsed. Her heart shattered. And for a moment, death felt easier than breathing. But the pain wasn't done. Draven wasn't done. He leaned over her broken form and growled, "I will never take you as my Luna. You're nothing, a defect, a disgrace to the goddess. I reject you, completely and forever." The words seared into her soul. The pack murmured in shock. Some even cheered. Draven turned away, his voice flat, cold. "Remove her from my sight." Two warriors grabbed her arms, dragged her across the floor. Her tears mixed with dirt and broken dish fragments. The world blurred. Her heart throbbed. Her wolf whimpered inside her, fading, rejected, unwanted, crushed. And as the warriors threw her outside the pack house door, she heard the final command that ended what was left of her life. Make sure she doesn't show her face at the ceremony tonight. The door slammed behind her. Lyria lay on the ground, shaking, bleeding, soul torn open, and for a moment, everything around her dimmed. She raised her trembling hand, and for the first time ever, a faint silver glow shimmered on her wrist, a mark she didn't recognize. A symbol shaped like a crescent moon entwined with flame. It flickered once, twice, then vanished, leaving Lyria gasping, confused, terrified, and completely unaware that the moon goddess lost Heir had just awakened, and nothing in the world would ever be the same again. Cold night air scraped against Lyria's skin as she lay on the hard ground outside the pack house, the pain still burning through every thread of her being. Her chest rose and fell in struggling breaths, each inhale shaky, each exhale trembling. The mate bond had shattered only minutes ago, but it felt like her soul was still tearing itself apart in slow, merciless waves. Her fingertips brushed the spot on her wrist where the strange silver glow had appeared, the crescent moon intertwined with flame, the mark she'd never seen before, the mark that vanished as quickly as it came. Had she imagined it? Hallucinated from heartbreak? She swallowed, the taste of blood and salt thick on her tongue. Somewhere inside her, her wolf whimpered, a quiet, wounded sound Lyria had never heard before. Her wolf had always been shy, distant. But this pain seemed to pull her forward, curling into Lyria's consciousness as if seeking comfort. It didn't help. Nothing could. Heavy footsteps approached from behind. Lyria tried to rise, but her limbs refused to obey. She could only turn her head slightly as two warriors stepped into view, Damon and Keres, the same warriors who often supervised punishments. Damon smirked down at her. "Well, look what the goddess dragged in, though I doubt she wants you." Keres laughed, kicking dust onto her dress. "Alpha Draven finally did it, huh? Finally rejected the pack's biggest embarrassment." Lyria tried to speak, to defend herself, but her throat burned. Only a croak escaped her lips. Damon crouched down, grabbing her chin roughly. "The Alpha said not to let you near the ceremony tonight, so be a good little Omega and stay invisible." Keres stepped forward, cracking his knuckles. "Or we can make sure you don't walk for a while. Your choice." Lyria squeezed her eyes shut. She couldn't fight them. She could barely breathe. But before Damon could yank her hair, Beta Selene emerged from the pack house, annoyance glowing in her blue eyes. "That's enough," she said, her tone sharp. "Draven doesn't want her dead yet. Just make sure she stays out of sight." Damon dropped Lyria's chin. Keres spat near her feet. The two walked off laughing, heading toward the training grounds. Selene remained. She looked down at Lyria with a mixture of disgust and triumph, her expression tightening into a cruel smile. "You really thought the Alpha would choose you?" she sneered. "A broken Omega who can barely shift? You should be grateful he didn't kill you." Lyria's vision blurred. I never asked to be his." "Silence," Selene snapped. "If the goddess gave you to him, then the goddess has terrible taste." Her heel pressed lightly, threateningly, onto Lyria's shoulder. "Stay out of sight, Lyria Hales. Don't embarrass the pack further. Tonight is important." Then she turned and walked away, her sharp steps echoing on the stone path. Lyria lay there long after Selene was gone, the ache in her chest throbbing like a bruise that would never heal. She forced herself into a sitting position, then onto her knees, gripping the earth with weak fingers. The world felt tilted, unfamiliar. The mate bond was gone, but a heavy emptiness remained, like a part of her had been torn loose and thrown into the darkness. Minutes, or maybe hours, passed. The sky dimmed into twilight purple. Pack members bustled around the grounds, preparing decorations, lighting lamps, arranging tables of food and wine for the moonrise ceremony. Their laughter carried on the wind. Their excitement crackled like sparks. No one looked at her, not even once. But that wasn't surprising. They hadn't looked at her entire life. Lyria tried to stand again. Her legs shook violently, but she managed it, one trembling step at a time. She reached the side of the pack house where a narrow stream flowed. Bending over, she splashed cold water on her face, washing away dirt and tears, watching ripples distort her reflection. Her eyes looked different, darker, wilder. Was this what heartbreak did? Her fingers trembled toward her wrist again, touching the skin where the silver glow had been. There was nothing there now. No mark, no warmth. But she felt something. A tingling, faint but unmistakable, like something beneath her skin was trying to wake. Before she could think more, the pack house doors burst open again. Warriors and omegas spilled out, carrying decorations, torches, and ceremonial robes. Among them was Draven. Her breath hitched. Even now, after everything, her heart betrayed her, stuttering painfully. Draven looked perfect as always. His dark hair was swept back, a ceremonial cloak draping over his broad shoulders. His golden eyes scanned the area with alpha precision. He didn't see her. Of course he didn't. She was less than dirt to him now. But something was wrong. His jaw was clenched tight, his shoulders tense. His steps were heavy but purposeful. A storm churned behind his eyes. Anger, conflict, something deeper. Lyria pressed herself behind the large oak tree, hidden in the shadows as he moved closer to the stream. He stopped just a few feet from her hiding place, sucking in a slow breath. "Damn it," he muttered under his breath. He braced a hand against a tree trunk, chest rising and falling sharply. "I won't accept it," he whispered harshly. "I won't." His wolf surfaced. Lyria felt the vibration in the air. Dangerous. Unstable. "I don't care what the bond says," Draven continued, voice raw. "She's nothing. She has nothing. She cannot be my mate." Lyria's fingers tightened against the bark. Each word stabbed deeper, twisting into her heart. Draven's next breath shook. "The goddess is wrong," he growled, but his voice didn't sound convinced. He looked conflicted, tortured, even. His hand rose instinctively to his chest, right over where the bond had torn. Even he felt the pain, but instead of accepting it, he seemed to be fighting it. He turned sharply, fury darkening his golden eyes again. "Weak Omega or not, I am Alpha. I choose my Luna, and I choose strength." He walked away before his wolf could pull him back toward her. His footsteps faded. The ceremony preparations resumed. The moon crept toward the sky, and Lyria stood trembling behind the tree, heart bleeding again. She wanted to hate him, truly, but she couldn't. Even now, she felt a faint echo of what could have been, a life she would never have, a love she would never know. As darkness settled and the first lanterns lit up the clearing, new whispers floated to the pack grounds. "Did you hear? The elders are furious. They think she cursed the Alpha. They say letting her live is dangerous. They're discussing removing her." Lyria's blood turned cold. Removing her, not banishing, not punishing, eliminating, like she was a disease, a threat, a mistake to be erased. Her knees weakened again. No, this couldn't be real. But the whispers continued. She should have been put down as a pup. She's a stain on the goddess will. They're going to settle it tonight, after the ceremony. A chill ran up Lyria's spine. She knew what that meant. Execution. Silently, quickly, without ceremony or mercy. Her heart hammered against her ribs. Not like this. Not today. Not because of a bond she never asked for. She stepped back, stumbling over a root. Her breath came faster, panic swirling in her chest. She had nowhere to run, nowhere to hide. The pack was the only home she had ever known, even if it never felt like home to her. Tears stung her eyes, but she swallowed them down. She could not cry now. She could not break again. She had to survive. She had to. A presence stirred in the shadows behind her. Soft, cold, ancient. Lyria spun around. A silver mist curled through the trees, glowing against the darkness. The wind died instantly. The forest grew silent, as if listening. And then a voice, low and unfamiliar, echoed through the mist. Lyria Hales. Her breath froze. No one else was here. No one should know she was here. She stepped backward, heartbeat in her throat. WHU's there? The mist parted. A figure emerged. Tall, cloaked in a hood so black, it seemed to swallow the moonlight. The air around him shimmered as though reality bent where he walked. He stopped a few feet away, lifting his head just enough to reveal eyes that glowed like molten silver. Not human, not wolf, something else, something older. He lowered himself to one knee, head bowed to her. "My lady," he said, voice dripping with reverence. "I have searched for you for 20 years. Lyria's breath hitched painfully. "I have come," the stranger said softly, "to save the moon goddess Heir." Her world shattered again, but this time, not from rejection, not from pain, but from destiny awakening in the dark. Lyria's knees buckled beneath her as a hooded figure remained kneeling in front of her. Her chest heaved, every inhale sharp and desperate, as though the very air had become too thick to breathe. The forest around her had fallen into an unnatural stillness. No wind stirred the leaves. No owl called from the dark. Even the stream nearby seemed to hold its breath. She wanted to retreat, to flee, to somehow vanish back into the shadows of the pack house where she had spent a lifetime unseen. But her body refused to obey, as though some invisible tether, stronger than fear, held her to the stranger. My lady?" The figure's voice was smooth but carried an undeniable authority, a cadence that made the hair on her arms rise. "You are the last hope, the moon goddess Heir, the one they tried to destroy." Lyria's lips trembled. I don't understand. I'm no one. I've never been anything. What are you talking about?" The hooded figure, taller than any warrior she had ever seen, slowly rose. A silver mist seemed to coil and spiral around him, clinging to the edges of his black cloak like living smoke. His presence radiated power, ancient and unyielding. When he lifted his hood slightly, glimpses of pale silver hair shimmered in the faint moonlight. His eyes, molten silver, impossible and hypnotic, locked onto hers, and for the first time in her life, Lyria felt as though she truly mattered. "You have always been someone, Lyria Hales. Even before the pack cast you aside. Even before the alpha rejected your bond." His voice softened, carrying a weight that resonated deep in her chest. "Your life was spared for a reason. You were hidden at birth to survive, to fulfill the prophecy that the alphaking of Blackthorn fears to this day." The words echoed in her mind, mingling with a pain so deep it nearly knocked her over again. "Prophecy? Alphaking?" she whispered, voice quivering. Why me? I'm weak. I'm nothing. I'm not a mate for anyone, let alone the moon goddess Heir." The stranger stepped closer. The silver mist swirled faster, brushing against her cheeks like tendrils of wind. "You are more than weak, Lyria. You are stronger than any alpha who walks this earth. You simply have not yet learned it." He extended a gloved hand toward her, palm up. "Come with me. Your life is in danger. The pack, your so-called home, wants you dead." Lyria recoiled instinctively. "Dead? You don't know. The elders, the warriors, she swallowed. "They are going to kill me. Tonight. They already tried." The stranger's voice was cold, cutting through her terror like a blade. Two of your pack's fiercest warriors were sent to end your life before sunrise. But the moment their blades touched you, they shattered. Her eyes widened. Shattered? How is that possible? He lowered his voice, almost reverently. Because you are not meant to die by their hands. You are protected by the moon goddess herself. By blood, by prophecy, by destiny. You carry her mark. He lifted a hand and traced the air, leaving silver motes floating in the space between them. The mark dormant in your bloodline awakens in moments of grave danger. And tonight, your awakening begins. Lyria's gaze fell to her wrist. It felt warmer now, pulsing faintly beneath her skin. For a fleeting moment, she thought she saw the silver crescent with entwined flames. Her mark burned faintly again before vanishing, leaving her shaken. She backed up a step, shaking her head. I don't understand. I'm just a useless omega. I've failed at everything. The alpha rejected me. Everyone hates me. Her voice cracked. Why would the moon goddess? Why would anyone save me? The stranger's eyes softened. For the first time, the molten silver seemed almost gentle, though no less powerful. Because the fate of the entire realm rests in your hands, my lady, and because the alphaking will stop at nothing to destroy you. He fears your existence. You are the key he cannot touch, unless he breaks you first. Ho would kill every heir of her bloodline. You were to be the last, the one who would dethrone him or die trying. She shook her head, backing away again. This is impossible. I'm not anyone's heir. I'm weak. Her words were cut off by the rustle of movement in the forest. Shadows deepened. Two figures emerged from between the trees, the pack warriors who had been sent to execute her, Damon and Kyries. Kaelatha's eyes narrowed. Silver mist swirled faster around him. They followed you, he muttered. The warriors charged forward with teeth bared, blades glinting in the faint moonlight. Lyria's heart froze. They're going to kill me. Kaela stepped forward, placing himself between her and the warriors. His cloak swirled, the silver mist rising like liquid fire, tendrils stretching toward the men. Stop, he said, voice carrying an authority that made the force itself seem to tense. Do you not know whom you face? Damon swung his blade at Kaelith. The metal shattered on contact, flying into splinters as though an invisible force had resisted the strike. Kyries tried to strike from the side. Same result. The warriors stumbled back, shock written across their faces. Lyria gasped. What was happening? Kaelith turned to her, eyes blazing. This is your protection, Lyria. The mark is awakening. The blood of the moon goddess flows through you. Their weapons cannot touch you until you are ready. But you must learn quickly. Your power will not remain hidden for long. She looked down at her hands, trembling. The tingling on her skin grew stronger, spreading from her wrist through her arms. Her wolf stirred for the first time in years. A faint, silvery glow in her eyes, a whisper of strength she had never known. Do you mean I have power? Lyria's voice was barely a whisper. Kaelith nodded. You have more power than the strongest alpha in the lands. But it has been dormant, waiting for you to awaken, and now they have sensed it. A howl split the night sky, a deep, commanding sound that made the trees tremble and the ground shiver. Lyria froze. The alphaking knows, Kaela said, voice grave. He has felt the stir of your blood, the first whisper of your awakening, and he will come for you. Soon. The forest seemed to close around them, shadows thickening, the air heavy with the promise of danger. Lyria's breath came in short, fast gasps. Kaelith extended his hand. You have a choice, my lady. Come with me. I will guide you, train you, awaken the power that is rightfully yours. Or stay and face death by the hands of those who fear what you are meant to become. Lyria hesitated. Her mind spun with fear, disbelief, and exhaustion. But her body, instinctively, longed for safety, for strength, for the possibility of finally being someone more than the pack had ever allowed her to be. She reached out. Her fingers touched his hand. The moment contact was made, a pulse of silver energy shot through her veins, lighting her wolf from within. Her mark flared briefly on her wrist, leaving a faint burning sensation. Kael'thas's grip was firm but gentle. "Good," he murmured. "Now we leave, and you will never look back." The forest around them seemed to breathe as they moved, shadows bending, wind carrying them silently into the deeper darkness, away from the pack, away from rejection, away from death. But as they vanished among the trees, a pair of golden eyes glinted from the tree-lean, watching, calculating, waiting, and somewhere far to the north, in a fortress dark as night itself, a howl answered theirs, a sound filled with rage, recognition, and obsession. The game had begun. The Silver Grove forest had a pulse, a rhythm that no ordinary mortal could feel. Every step Lyria took beside Kaelis seemed to echo, not on the ground, but inside her very chest, stirring something she had never known. Her senses, once dulled by a lifetime of mockery and rejection, began to tingle. Every leaf shimmered faintly in silver luminescence. Every shadow whispered secrets she could almost understand. Even the air felt alive, brushing against her skin with intent, as though it recognized her blood. Kael'th moved silently ahead, his cloak brushing the ferns without rustle, his eyes ever watchful. "You must trust the forest," he said, voice low, carrying both command and reassurance. "It recognizes you. It has been waiting for the moon goddess Heir." Lyria swallowed hard. I don't understand. You keep saying I'm her heir, that I have power, but all I know is fear and pain. I've never been strong. I've never been anything but nothing." Kaelis stopped and turned, the silver mist curling around his boots like living serpents. His eyes softened, molten silver glowing faintly in the moonlight. "Nothing," he repeated. "No, you are the key that all tyrants, all failed alphas, all would-be rulers have feared for centuries. That fear exists because you are everything. Everything they have tried to destroy. Everything they have tried to erase." He extended a hand to her, and Lyria hesitated only for a moment before taking it. The moment their fingers touched, a jolt of energy shot through her veins, warm and electric. It was not pain. It was awakening. Her wolf stirred inside her, a dormant heartbeat rising, stretching, trembling, eager to be free. Her eyes, once brown and timid, reflected flickers of silver light. A warmth radiated from her wrist, the faint glow of her moon mark, but now stronger, almost pulsing with intent. Kael'th led her to a clearing where the moonlight fell like liquid silver on the mossy ground. "Here," he said, kneeling to trace sigils in the dirt. "This is where you will begin your first awakening. You must confront your fear, your past, your pain. Only then can your wolf, your energy, your power rise." Lyria's throat tightened. The memory of Draven's rejection, the pack's cruel laughter, the beatings, the cold storage room, all of it, suddenly pressed down like stones in her chest. Her legs trembled, and for a heartbeat, she felt her old self small, fragile, inconsequential. But Kael'thas's eyes, calm, unwavering, anchored her. "You are not what they made you," he said, his voice cutting to the storm of her thoughts. "You are what you were meant to become. The moon goddess Heir. Do you understand?" "Yes," she whispered, though her voice shook. I think I understand." Kael'th nodded once, sharply. "Good. Now you must feel. Close your eyes. Feel the forest, the moon, the blood in your veins. Feel the wolf inside you, hungry to be awakened." Lyria sank to her knees on the cold moss, shivering. She closed her eyes and drew in a deep, quivering breath. At first, all she felt was fear. The familiar terror of being hunted, of being nothing, of being hated. But then, faintly, a warmth like sunlight on frost. A heartbeat that was not her own, yet felt like it had always been hers. Her breath grew uneven. Images flashed behind her eyelids. Silver flames dancing across the horizon. A throne of moonlight. A woman with silver hair, her mother, holding out a hand. The woman's eyes were deep pools of compassion and fire, and the words whispered in a voice that was not quite memory, not quite dream. "Rise, my child. Your destiny waits." A shiver ran down Lyria's spine. Her wolf within stirred violently, claws scraping at the walls of her mind, teeth snapping, a low growl vibrating in her chest. She gasped. The silver mark on her wrist flared, brighter than ever. Sparks of silver fire traced up her arm, curling over her shoulders like ethereal snakes, licking her skin, leaving warmth and light in their wake. Kayla stood silently, watching. Good. Let it flow. Do not resist. The warmth surged, and Lyria felt herself lifted, not by magic, but by sheer instinct. She fell forward onto her hands, and the forest around her seemed to pulse in rhythm with her heart. Every shadow quivered. Every leaf glittered with silver. Her senses expanded. She could hear the rustle of insects beneath the moss. She could feel the blood pounding through Kaelith's veins, the distant beating of wolves far beyond the forest. She could smell the faint scent of her old pack, the sharp tang of fear, the unmistakable odor of destiny. Then pain. A scream ripped from her throat, and she felt herself arching, twisting, as if her very bones were being reshaped. Silver flames erupted from her back, surrounding her like a cocoon of fire, searing but not burning. Her eyes opened, and for the first time she saw herself as she truly was. Not fragile, not weak, not abandoned, but magnificent, dangerous, luminous. Kaelith knelt before her, murmuring chants in an ancient tongue. The silver mist thickened, coiling around Lyria's flames, guiding them, tempering them, teaching them. She felt her wounds from the pack, the scars both visible and invisible, vanish in a rush of healing warmth. Her heartbeat steadied, her vision sharpened. She could see every detail of the forest, the glimmering veins in the leaves, the pulse of the earth, the tiniest movements of insects on the forest floor. "Your wolf is stronger than any alpha," Kaelith whispered, eyes alight. "Your senses surpass the fiercest hunters. Your power is waking, and soon it will be sensed by those who would see you destroyed. They will come for you, my lady, and you must be ready." Lyria breathed deeply, letting the warmth of her new strength settle in her chest. For the first time, she did not feel fear. She did not feel rejection. She felt alive. She felt mighty. Who am I now?" she asked softly, barely daring to speak. "You are the moon goddess Heir," Kaelith said firmly. "The one who will either dethrone the tyrant alphaking or die trying. But you will not die. You have the power within you now. You must trust it, and trust yourself." Her mind flashed to the pack, to Draven, to all those who had mocked and beaten her. A slow, simmering rage filled her chest. But it was no longer fear. It was fuel, a fire to sharpen her power, to guide her, to give her purpose. The silver flames around her shimmered brighter, stretching outward into forest, leaving trails of light across the mossy ground. And then she felt it, a presence, something massive, dark, overwhelming, yet distant. Kaelith stiffened, eyes narrowing. "You feel that?" he asked. Lyria nodded, trembling slightly. "Yes, something powerful, dangerous. That," Kaelith said quietly, his voice grave, "is the alphaking of Blackthorn. He has sensed your awakening. Soon he will come, and when he does, you must be ready. Your power will no longer be hidden." Lyria's wolf growled low in her chest. Silver flames licked the tips of her hair. She clenched her fists, feeling the strength in every fiber of her being. "Then I will be ready," she whispered, voice firm. "I will never be weak again." Kaelith stepped closer, placing a protective hand on her shoulder. "Good. Rest now. There will be time for training, for mastery, for the full awakening. But remember, you are no longer the Omega they thought they could break. You are something far greater, and the world will tremble when they see you." The forest seemed to hum with approval, the moonlight glowing brighter on the leaves. But far beyond the silver grove, in a fortress dark as the night itself, a figure stirred. The Alpha King had sensed the tremors of awakening, and a slow, deliberate smile spread across his face, sharp as obsidian. "Finally," he murmured, voice low and hungry, "the moon goddess Heir has revealed herself. And now the hunt begins." Far beyond the luminescent borders of Silvergrove, a castle carved from black stone rose like a jagged shadow against the pale moonlight. Its walls were cold, ancient, breathing power that seemed to suck the warmth from the air. And within, a presence stirred, a presence that dwarfed any mortal thought of strength or dominance. Valerius Thorn, the Alpha King of Blackthorn, reclined atop his obsidian throne, the high back carved into the snarling faces of wolves long extinct. His eyes, sharp as daggers, glinted with a cold, unnatural light. Even seated, he radiated menace. Power was not just in him. It was him. He felt it first in his chest, a tremor, subtle but undeniable, a pulse of energy, silver and luminous, echoing in rhythm with his own heart. He rose, long legs carrying him silently across the polished obsidian floor, hands clenched. His gaze locked onto the center of the room, where a massive globe shimmered with light, tracing the lands of his kingdom. The pulse grew stronger, unmistakable now. The moon goddess Heir had awakened. Somewhere beyond his reach, far from Blackthorn, she stirred, and the world would soon bend or break. Because of her, Valerius' jaw tightened. A low growl escaped his throat, more animal than man. He had heard the whispers in the dark, felt the tremors of fate brush against him. The prophecy, the missing heir, the cursed bloodline he had sought and failed to claim. And now she had revealed herself. He stepped forward, and the air seemed to warp around him, bending as though acknowledging his presence. The guard at the throne room's edge stiffened instinctively, yet none dared approach. One false movement, one hesitation, and they would be nothing more than ash and shadow. "Send them," Valerius said, his voice smooth, lethal. "Send the hunters. Bring her to me alive. I will not fail again." From the shadows, elite warriors emerged, clad in black leather and enchanted steel. Each carried weapons carved with runes, glowing faintly in the dark. They bowed, faces pale under the eerie glow of the castle. Valerius' eyes swept over them, silver flames of wrath and obsession burning within. "You have two things to remember," he said, voice like ice cutting stone. "One, she is the moon goddess Heir. One scratch, one mistake, and she will die. 2, failure is not an option. If she escapes, I will hunt you down myself. And believe me when I say I will not fail again." The warriors nodded, swallowing their fear. None dared speak further. Valerius turned, his long black cloak swirling like a living shadow behind him. Outside, the night held its breath. Meanwhile, deep within Silvergrove, Lyria's senses had reached heights she had never imagined. She stood atop a moss-covered ridge, silver flames dancing around her arms as her wolf instinct sharpened. She could hear the heartbeat of the forest, the rhythm of trees bending in the night wind, even the faintest rustle of predators moving far beyond the grove. But beneath it all, a deeper pulse, a presence, immense, commanding, terrifying. Caliph, standing beside her, noticed her tense posture. "You feel it, don't you?" he asked quietly. "Yes," Lyria whispered, eyes narrowing. "Something dark, something powerful." "Closer than you think," Caliph said. "The Alpha King has sensed your awakening. That pulse you feel, that is him. And he is unlike anything you have ever faced. His curse, it makes him unstoppable." Lyria's heart skipped. "Curse." Calith's gaze hardened. Valerius Thorn is not just an alpha. He was once a man who sought to claim the moon goddess bloodline. He failed. The gods cursed him. His mind, his body, his power are all chained to madness and rage. But he is drawn to you, my lady, and he will come. Soon. The forest seemed to shift around them as Lyria digested this. Rage, fear, and something deeper, an unnameable thrill, coursed through her. The Silver Grove had been her refuge, but now she understood. it was only the beginning. Night after night, Lyria trained. Kalitha's methods were rigorous, brutal even but precise. She learned to channel her silver flames, to move like shadow and wind, to strike with the fury of a storm contained in a single body. She practiced offensive enchantments, weaving threads of magic in circles that shimmered faintly in the moonlight. Each strike of her wolf claws left trails of silver fire across the forest floor. Each flicker of her tongue of flame sang with purpose. She healed from wounds in seconds, her senses detecting threats before they even materialized. Yet the emotional battle was far harder. Memories of Draven's rejection, the pack's scorn, the night she'd been dragged to the edge of death, they lingered, clawing at her mind. Kalith watched her silently, letting her wrestle with the ghosts of her past. "Do not run from them," he said finally. "Let them fuel you. Let your pain and anger sharpen your strength. You are no longer the Omega they believed they could break. You are the moon goddess Heir. Every memory, every scar, every heartbreak is now your weapon." Lyria clenched her fists. Her silver flames licked higher. "I will not fail," she whispered. "I will not be weak." Far to the east, the alphaking's hunters spread to the kingdom like shadows given form. Each warrior, elite and deadly, carried a piece of Illyria's madness with them, a sliver of his obsession, a fraction of his cruel cunning. They scoured villages, forests, and mountains. Whispers of a silver-lit wolf, of a radiant presence that could not be hunted, reached them. Fear trickled into their ranks. One hunter, Commander Rowan, led a team deep into the woods near Silvergrove. His eyes, sharp and calculating, narrowed as he noticed a faint glimmer of silver fire in the distance. "The girl," he murmured. "She is awake. The moon goddess mark, it is real." The team faltered slightly, feeling the intensity of the magic around them. Rowan's lips curved into a cold smile. "Report to the king. Tell him she is more than we feared. But she will not hide forever." The pulse of the forest grew heavier. Lyria's senses flared. She could feel them, hunters approaching, relentless. She turned to Kalith. "They're close," she said, the silver flames around her hands flickering in anticipation. "They're coming for me." Kalitha's jaw tightened. "Yes, and you must be ready. The alphaking will come soon himself if they fail. He will not wait. We cannot hide forever." The forest seemed to hum in agreement. The leaves shimmered, and the air thickened with anticipation. Lyria's wolf growled low in her chest, a sound that resonated with the earth itself. She had been weak, she had been rejected, she had been nothing. Now she was ready, and the world was about to learn that the moon goddess Heir could not be hunted, could not be tamed, and would not be broken. The night was alive, and the forest seemed to hold its breath. Silvergrove, the sacred woods that had hidden Lyria for so long, pulsed with energy, responding to the rhythm of her heart. Every leaf, every vine, every shadow whispered the power she now commanded. She moved through the undergrowth with the grace of a predator born, silver flames flickering across her skin, illuminating the path like liquid moonlight. Kalith followed silently, a shadow within shadows, his eyes scanning the forest for any disturbance. He had known this moment would come. The alphaking's hunters were relentless. They did not stumble, did not tire, and they were coming for her. From beyond protective barriers of the grove, movement stirred. Rowan led the first wave, a dozen elite warriors who had been trained to sense even the faintest signs of supernatural power. Each step they took caused the earth to hum faintly, enchanted steel gleaming in the moonlight. Rowan's face was a mask of calm, but behind it, excitement and obsession warred for dominance. "The girl is close," he whispered to his team, voice low and measured. "I can feel her. She is awake." Lyria's heightened senses detected them before even the shadows shifted. Her wolf instincts roared, claws digging into the soft soil as her ears picked up the faintest crunch of leaves. The silver flames along her arms pulsed, as if aware of the approaching danger. Kalith crouched beside her, voice a razor calm urgency. "They're here. Remember what I taught you. Control the flames, use the terrain, and strike before they realize the full scope of your power. Lyria's breath came in even, deliberate movements. Her heartbeat no longer carried the remnants of fear and rejection. No, it carried the promise of fury and vengeance. "I'm ready," she said softly, eyes narrowing. The first hunter stepped into the clearing, sword drawn, runes glowing faintly along the blade. The air thickened immediately, reacting to the intrusion of unnatural intent. Lyria's silver flames flared higher, casting dancing lights across the trees. Without warning, she leaped. The flames extended in arcs of silver light, moving faster than the eye could track. One warrior cried out as he was thrown backward. The ground scorched where the flames met enchanted steel. Another turned, but Lyria was already upon him, her claws slicing through the air with lethal precision, leaving a streak of molten silver across his armor. Rowan's eyes widened. Even in the dim glow of the forest, he could see the mark. Her wrist bore the moon goddess emblem, pulsing with divine light. His lips curved into a grim smile. "So it is real," he murmured. "The moon goddess heir alive." Kael'thas's voice cut through the chaos, low but commanding. "Lyria, focus. Do not let them overwhelm you. The forest bends to your power, but only if you command it fully." The hunters pressed forward, enchanted weapons flashing like lightning in the night. But Lyria moved like a tempest, her body flowing to the battlefield with unnatural grace. Silver flames licked the edges of their blades, melting metal before it could touch her skin. Each movement, each strike, left trails of light across the grove, illuminating her power, terrifying those who dared approach. Rowan circled, taking in every detail, eyes narrowing. "The alphaking will know," he muttered. "When he sees this, he will not rest until she is his." Lyria's wolf form began to surface, glimpses of the full creature, within her breaking through the human shell. Her ears lengthened, eyes glowed silver, and her claws extended, leaving trails of molten fire across the forest floor. Every heartbeat, every breath, became a weapon, a shield, a summons of destiny. Kael'thas's eyes burned with both pride and concern. "Do not underestimate them," he warned. "Rowan is clever. He is not just a hunter. He is the alphaking's mind made flesh. You must be faster, stronger, smarter." The hunters were relentless. One by one, they pressed in, enchanted weapons slicing through the air, seeking to overwhelm her with numbers. But Lyria's power, her reborn wolf instincts, and the silver flame she now commanded made her untouchable. She moved with precision, striking with both calculated fury and raw instinct. A warrior lunged from the shadows, a spear aimed directly for her heart. Lyria spun, flames whirling, deflecting the attack with a single swing of her arm. The weapon disintegrated in molten sparks before hitting the ground. Another tried to ambush her from behind. She vanished into shadow, reappearing atop a ridge, silver flames cascading like a river, and sent two more flying backward with a roar that shook the trees. Rowan realized the truth in a flash. This was no ordinary Omega. She was more than any hunter had imagined, more than any alphaking could have hoped to suppress. The moon goddess heir stood before him, radiant and terrifying, and the obsession that would grip Valeria's thorn was now inevitable. He stepped back, assessing the battlefield. "We retreat," he ordered, voice cold and unwavering. "Report everything. The king must know. The heir is awake. Her power, it is unmatched." But Lyria did not allow them to leave quietly. Flames streaked across the forest, creating barriers of molten silver that forced the hunters to flee through carefully plotted paths of destruction. Each escape, each retreat, was measured to leave a mark, a warning that Silver Grove was no longer sanctuary. Kael'thas watched, a tense line forming along his jaw. "They will return," he said grimly. "And next time he will come himself." Lyria stood amidst the glowing remnants of her power, chest heaving, silver flames flickering across her skin. For the first time, she felt truly alive, not weak, not discarded. The blood of the moon goddess surged through her veins, roaring with the promise of destiny. She turned to Caliph, eyes blazing. "I'm ready," she said, voice low, certain, unyielding. "Let him come." Calith's hand rested lightly on her shoulder, a rare gesture of warmth. "Then let him come. And when he does, we will be waiting." The forest fell silent again, save for the hum of residual energy, the aftertaste of power unleashed. Lyria knew, in the depths of her being, that this was only the beginning. The alphaking's hunters would return, and soon Valerius Thorn himself would be drawn into the heart of Silvergrove, pulled by a force neither of them could resist. And when that day came, Lyria would no longer be the weak, rejected omega of the Bloodfang Pack. She would be a storm, a queen, a warrior, and the moon goddess Heir, awakened and unstoppable. The pulse of Silvergrove shifted around her, responding to her presence, alive with anticipation. Somewhere, deep in the darkness, Rowan fled, the realization etched in his features. The Heir was not hiding. She was ready, and the alphaking would know it soon. Lyria lifted her chin, silver flames dancing along her arms and shoulders, eyes reflecting the moonlight like molten silver. The forest, the power within her, Caliph at her side, everything aligned for the inevitable confrontation. The hunters would return, the alphaking would come, and Silvergrove would become the crucible in which a goddess-born heir would rise. The forest shivered with tension, as though Silvergrove itself sensed the storm approaching. Lyria stood at the center of a small clearing, silver flames licking her forearms, her chest rising and falling with deliberate calm. Calith's presence beside her grounded her, his sharp eyes scanning the shadows, every muscle taut with anticipation. The echoes of battle from earlier still hummed faintly in the soil, remnants of the destruction she had unleashed against Valeria's hunters. But now, the true predator approached. Calith's voice was barely above a whisper, yet it carried weight like thunder. "He's coming, Valerius Thorn, the alphaking himself. And this time, there will be no half measures. Not even a single misstep will save you." Lyria's lips pressed into a firm line. Her heart throbbed, not with fear, but with the fierce fire of someone who had survived rejection, betrayal, and the wilderness of her own power. Her wolf form had awakened, her silver flames danced along her skin, and her senses were sharper than ever. She felt every leaf rustle, every twig snap beneath unseen steps, and through it all, an invisible pull tugged at her, something magnetic, forbidden, and frighteningly intimate. From the horizon, the earth itself seemed to tremble. Shadows twisted unnaturally, bending toward the source of power. Then the sound came, the ground-pounding rhythm of claws on stone, heavy, deliberate, unstoppable. A colossal black shape emerged of the fog at the forest's edge. Lyria's breath caught for a brief moment as her eyes widened. Valerius Thorn rode into view atop a black battle-wolf that dwarfed any normal creature, its fur as dark as midnight and eyes glowing faintly with an otherworldly light. His presence was immediate, a gravitational force that distorted the air around him. Even the trees seemed to bow in submission, leaves curling inward as though afraid to breathe in his vicinity. Valerius' armor was etched with runes of shadow and flame, flickering with cursed energy. His broad shoulders and taut frame radiated power that no mortal or wolf could withstand. His face, pale yet commanding, bore the unmistakable marks of centuries of conquest and the dark curse that had twisted his soul. A jagged scar ran down the left side of his jaw, and his ice-blue eyes held a storm within them, a storm that had sensed Lyria long before her full awakening. Calith's jaw tightened. "Control yourself, Lyria. The barrier is failing. If he breaches Silvergrove completely, we may not survive." But Lyria didn't look away. Her silver flames burned brighter, her wolf instincts bristling. She had faced hunters before. She had survived rejection, humiliation, and near death. She was ready to face the alphaking himself. Every step he took toward her sent ripples of energy through the grove. She could feel his strength, the dark aura of his curse, and the obsessive pull he carried, the same pull she felt from deep within herself. He dismounted effortlessly, his boots striking the forest floor with a resonance that echoed through the clearing. Each movement was a testament to his absolute dominance. Wolves from the surrounding forest scattered, sensing a force beyond even their alpha's command. Valeria's gaze swept across the clearing, dark and calculating, until it landed squarely on Lyria. Time seemed to fracture. The world narrowed to the space between them. His eyes locked onto hers, and in that instant, something ignited, a violent, unexplainable recognition. The air between them crackled with tension, charged with something neither fully understood, but both could not resist. Kayla stepped forward instinctively, hand raised, eyes flashing with urgency. Lyria, stay back. Do not engage him yet. But Lyria's silver flame surged in response to Valeria's presence. She could feel the weight of the prophecy, the dormant power of her bloodline, and the destiny that had been waiting for her since birth. Her wolf form shimmered, silver for brushing against the forest floor, eyes shining with determination. She had survived the hunters. She could survive him. She would survive him. Valerius moved like liquid shadow, each step measured and deliberate, his power pressing down on her in waves. Even Caliph, seasoned rogue and master of the arcane, felt the oppressive weight of the Alpha King's aura. He knew that this was no ordinary opponent. Valerius Thorn had faced entire armies, crushed rivals, and wielded a cursed strength that had broken lesser gods. Yet now, in front of Lyria, he faltered slightly, the faintest flicker of something almost human touching his icy expression. "Show yourself," he said, voice low, resonant, a growl that carried through both flesh and spirit. "I know you're here, moon goddess Heir. You cannot hide from me." Lyria stepped fully into clearing, silver flames licking her arms and shoulders, illuminating the forest with a ghostly light. Her wolf form now fully emerged, elegant yet terrifying, for shimmering with molten silver. Her eyes met his, unwavering. "I am here," she replied, voice steady, carrying both command and defiance. "And I am not afraid of you." Valerius' lips twitched, a predator's smirk touching his face for the briefest moment before his fury returned. The pull between them intensified, invisible yet undeniable. Her heartbeat raced in sync with his, a strange, dangerous rhythm that made the forest tremble around them. Kalitha's voice was sharp. "She is the key. Do not underestimate her, Valerius. She is not merely an omega. She is the heir of the moon goddess. If you strike without caution, you may awaken forces even you cannot control." But Valerius did not heed the warning. His aura flared, dark energy rippling outward in waves that caused the air to warp and the trees to shudder. He raised a hand, and the ancient barrier surrounding Silvergrove, which had protected Lyria for generations, cracked under his cursed strength. Light fractured into shards, smoke rising as the forest trembled beneath the force of his power. Lyria planted her feet firmly on the ground, silver flames erupting in response to the intrusion. Her wolf form bristled, eyes glowing brighter than ever. She could feel every leaf, every root, every pulse of life within Silvergrove resonating with her own. The forest itself seemed to bend toward her, offering its strength as her own. "Caliph," she said, voice calm but commanding. "I can feel him. I know what he wants. But I will not run. Not now. Not ever." Kalitha's hand rested briefly on her shoulder, an anchor of guidance. "Very well," he said, tone tight with both pride and apprehension. "Then prepare yourself. The Alpha King does not forgive weakness, and he will test you beyond your limits." Valerius took a step forward, and the ground beneath him cracked, fissures spreading outward like veins of darkness. His eyes never left hers, piercing, calculating, filled with hunger and obsession, a force of nature and curse intertwined. Every fiber of his being demanded her presence, her submission, but she would not yield. Not yet. Lyria's silver flame surged higher, reflecting in her eyes as she met his gaze with unflinching resolve. The pull between them was electric, undeniable, magnetic, and terrifying. It was not just power. It was fate itself, binding them in ways neither could fully comprehend. Then, without warning, Valeria's aura shifted, expanding outward like a black sun, and the Silver Grove trees groaned under the pressure. Wolves and spirits that had lingered at the forest's edge retreated in terror. The ground quaked as he stepped fully into the clearing, his gaze fixed on Lyria. And in that instant, Lyria realized the truth. She was no longer merely the hunted. She was a force that even the alphaking could not ignore, a storm he could not suppress, a destiny he could not deny. The forest itself seemed to pulse in acknowledgement of her awakening. Every leaf, every root, every flicker of silver light bent toward her. She could hear it, the whispers of ancestors, the silent guidance of the moon goddess, the bloodline that had been hidden, waiting, preparing for this exact moment. Valeria's lips curled into a half-smile, half-snarl, his aura warping the air around him. "So you are the heir, the one I have sought, the one the prophecies spoke of." His voice trembled with power, and yet there was a hint of awe hidden beneath the rage. "You are more than I imagined, and yet you will be mine." Lyria held her ground, silver flames dancing along her skin, her wolf form towering and radiant. "You may desire me," she said, voice steady, resonant, "but I am no one's pawn. Not yours, not anyone's. If you wish to test me, alphaking, then know this. I am ready." Kaelatha's eyes narrowed, sensing the invisible threads of fate weaving tighter around them. "Heed me, Lyria. This is the alphaking. Every move you make, every flicker of flame, he will counter. Do not falter, not even for a heartbeat." Valerius took another step forward, and the very air seemed to scream in anticipation. "Then show me, moon goddess Heir. Show me the power you have awakened. Show me why destiny has chosen you." And in response, Lyria exhaled slowly, deliberately, feeling the full weight of her awakening. Silver flames surged in waves, her wolf form glimmering like molten moonlight. She did not fear him. She did not flee. She did not waver. The alphaking had arrived, and Silver Grove was about to witness a battle of fates, one that would shake kingdoms, break curses, and awaken destinies older than time itself. Silver Grove shivered under the weight of Valerius Thorn's presence. The air itself seemed charged, vibrating with a tension that pressed against Lyria's chest like an invisible vice. Every tree, every stone, every living creature in the forest recoiled, as if aware of the predator now standing in their midst. And yet, in that suffocating atmosphere, Lyria felt something unexpected, something terrifyingly intimate. The pulse in her veins synchronized with his, a forbidden rhythm that demanded recognition, obedience, and something neither of them could ignore. Kaelatha's hand gripped her shoulder, his jaw tight, eyes scanning the shadows for signs of danger beyond what even she could sense. "Lyria," he warned, voice low but sharp. "This is the alphaking. He is not merely a hunter or a warrior. He is a force of nature, a curse bound in flesh and shadow. Every step he takes, every breath he draws, he bends reality to his will. Stay alert. Stay alive." Lyria's silver flames ignited across her skin, her wolf form rising taller, her senses sharpening to their full potential. The pull between them grew unbearable. She could feel him, the predator, the king, the impossible mate. Each heartbeat was echoing inside her. Every fiber of her being trembled with a violent mix of fear, rage, and magnetic attraction that made her skin prickle with heat. Valeria stepped closer, and the forest itself seemed to bow. The soil beneath his boots cracked, fissures spreading outward like veins of shadow and molten fire. His ice-blue eyes locked on hers, piercing, unrelenting, and alive with a power older than kingdoms. The pull intensified until Lyria could no longer pretend it was anything but destiny, something impossible, inevitable, and terrifyingly intimate. "You are the moon goddess Heir," he said, voice low, resonant, carrying both authority and hunger. "I have felt your awakening long before this moment, since the rise of your power, the stirrings of your bloodline, and yet you have evaded me, until now." His eyes flickered, shadows dancing across his pale features, revealing a hint of awe beneath the storm. You are more than I imagined. And yet you will be mine. Lyria inhaled sharply, silver flames surging along her arms as her wolf form tensed. I am not yours, she declared, voice steady though every part of her quivered under the invisible pull between them. I am no one's pawn. Not yours. Not anyone's. If you wish to test me, alphaking, then know this. I am ready. Lyria smiled, a predator's grin that carried danger and desire intertwined. Test you? He echoed, a growl vibrating from deep within his chest. I do not test what is mine. I claim it, and you, moon goddess Heir, are already mine. The words hit her like ice and fire at once. Her heart pounded violently, not with fear, but with a mix of something unnameable, an awareness that her life, her destiny, her very blood had intertwined with his. Every instinct screamed to flee, yet every pulse of her power urged her to stand firm. The silver flames along her body responded, surging higher, weaving into a halo of molten light that radiated from her wolf form. Kael'thas's voice snapped her back to reality. He speaks of bonds, Lyria. The bond he feels is not like the ones of mortal wolves. It is divine, inescapable. If you falter now, you will be claimed entirely body and soul. Lyria's breath caught, her body trembling with the raw intensity of the pull between them. She had faced hunters, betrayal, and even the cruelty of her own pack. She had survived every trial Kael'th had put before her. Yet this was different. This was a force that defied logic, a magnetic storm that bound them together even as her mind screamed to resist. Valerius took another step, and the air around him shimmered with cursed energy. The trees groaned, their roots writhing like serpents under his influence. Wolves from a forest edge fled in terror, leaving the clearing empty save for the two of them, his aura pressing on her, a weight that made breathing difficult, a gravitational pull she could neither ignore nor escape. Then it happened. A sudden, violent surge of energy erupted from Lyria. Her silver flames leapt higher, dancing across her wolf form in waves of molten light. Her mark, hidden beneath her sleeves, glowed intensely, illuminating the air with a radiance that challenged the darkness Valerius exuded. The moment her energy touched his, the bond snapped into existence. It was instantaneous, undeniable, a tether invisible yet undeniable wrapped around them both, threads of power and bloodline weaving tightly, pulling them together with force that neither could resist. The forest quaked, and the very air around them hummed with divine resonance. Valerius froze, momentarily caught off guard, his usual predatory control shaken, his pupils dilated, lips parting slightly as he inhaled sharply, the acknowledgement of the bond flickering across his features. Impossible, he murmured, voice a mix of awe and fury. Draven, you were wrong. The bond, she is not his. She is mine. Lyria felt it too, a pull in her chest, a rhythm in her veins that aligned perfectly with his heartbeat. Her wolf instinct screamed with conflicting emotions. Fear, anger, attraction, and the undeniable realization that this alphaking, this cursed ruler she had been taught to despise, was now intrinsically tied to her very essence. Kael'thas's hand shot out instinctively, resting on her shoulder. Do not let him claim you yet. Not fully. Control your power, Lyria. Do not let the bond dictate your actions. She shook her head, silver hair whipping around her as her flames danced higher. I will not run. I will not hide. If the bond exists, then let it be, but it will not control me. I am still myself. I am still Lyria. Valerius' lips curled into a dangerous smile. Defiance, he murmured, voice like silk and steel. So predictable. So irresistible. His step slowed, measured, predatory, as he began to close the distance. You do not understand what you are, Luna. The bond does not merely connect us. It consumes us. It twists desire into dominance, need into possession. You will feel it. You will feel me. And yet, he paused, eyes darkening with a storm of emotion. You will fear me, and you will obey me. The word struck her, not with terror, but with a shiver of recognition. The bond was no mere connection. It was a storm, violent and unrelenting, pulling them together while threatening to rip them apart. She could feel it weaving into her silver flames, her wolf instincts, every pulse of energy within her body. Lyria lifted her gaze, meeting his eyes fully. I will not obey, not blindly, not willingly. You may claim that the bond exists, but I am still the heir of the moon goddess. I am still in control of my power. You will not bend me. Valeria's eyes narrowed, a flicker of frustration passing over his features before it hardened into something more dangerous. Anticipation, hunger, obsession. The bond had ignited, and with it, a storm neither of them could fully contain. He lunged suddenly, moving with a speed that blurred even her enhanced perception. Lyria responded instinctively, silver flames bursting outward in a defensive wave, colliding with his cursed aura. Sparks of energy rippled across the clearing, setting roots alight and sending echoes of thunder through the forest. The clash of power was monumental, shaking the very foundation of Silvergrove. Lyria could feel the bond reacting violently, threads pulling tighter with every surge of energy. Her heart raced, matching his pulse in a dangerous synchrony. Every instinct screamed to fight, to resist, yet a deeper part of her, the part Caleb had awakened, whispered that this bond was not merely a curse. It was a key, a destiny, something that could either destroy or elevate them both. Valeria stumbled slightly under the force of her flames, eyes locking onto hers with an intensity that made her knees weak. You are fire, he growled, voice low and resonant. More than I imagined. And yet you will be mine, whether you will it or not. Lyria's silver flames flared, illuminating her wolf form in a radiant glow that challenged even his darkness. Then claim me, she said, voice unwavering. But know this, I will not be a prisoner. I will not be your Luna unless it is on my terms. The bond does not enslave me. It empowers me. The forest seemed to exhale, the very air shimmering with anticipation. The bond pulsed between them, violent and undeniable, threading their fates together while keeping them at war with themselves. The alphaking and the moon goddess Heir stood face to face, predator and prey intertwined in a storm of destiny, power, and forbidden attraction. Caleb remained at the edge of the clearing, his expression tense but proud. The bond has awakened, he muttered, voice tight. And now the real test begins. Control it, Lyria, or it will consume you both. Lyria's heart beat wildly, silver flames casting long, wavering shadows across the forest floor. She took a deep breath, centering herself, feeling the surge of divine energy coursing through her veins. She would not flee. She would not submit blindly. She would harness the bond, and if destiny demanded it, she would face the alphaking, her forbidden mate, and claim her place not as a victim, but as the heir of the moon goddess. Valerius advanced once more, and the ground itself groaned beneath the weight of his power. The pull between them intensified to a roar, a magnetic storm that neither could resist, forcing their fates into a violent, inescapable collision. And Lyria understood fully, in the deepest part of her being, that nothing would ever be the same again. The forbidden bond had ignited, and Silvergrove would bear witness to the clash of destiny, desire, and the awakening of a power older than kingdoms. Silvergrove was silent in the aftermath of the storm of power that had erupted moments before. Lyria's chest heaved as her silver flames dimmed, leaving her wolf form shimmering faintly beneath the canopy of ancient trees. Valerius stood a mere breath away, his presence an oppressive weight, his cursed energy still radiating in dark, rolling waves. Every instinct screamed at her to strike, flee, or cower, but Kalitha's firm hand on her shoulder reminded her to think, to observe, to survive. Kayla stepped forward, voice cutting through the tension like a sharpened blade. Enough! His authority, honed over centuries, carried weight even here, against an alphaking whose reputation alone inspired terror. Valerius' ice-blue eyes flickered with surprise, but did not waver from Lyria. This bond, it cannot be broken, even by your will alone, Kayla continued, locking eyes with her. It has awakened fully, and it will drive both of you toward a fate that has been written long before either of you drew breath. But you, Lyria, you must understand the prophecy in its entirety. Lyria's flames dimmed further, silver hair sticking to the sweat on her forehead, her wolf form shrinking back as Kaelith's words pierced her like a dagger. Prophecy, she repeated softly, the word tasting like ash. I thought I knew it already. You said it was about dethroning a tyrant. That's all I understood. Kaelith's gaze softened briefly, but his tone remained grave. What you understood was only part of it. You are the moon goddess Heir, the last scion of a bloodline the alphaking himself sought to annihilate centuries ago. That is the surface truth. The deeper truth, what none but the most ancient of our kind can reveal, is this. The Luna Queen, the one who bears a full-blood moon goddess, holds the power to either redeem or destroy the alphaking. His curse, his madness, his insatiable hunger for power, it is bound to your existence. Your awakening has triggered what he spent lifetimes searching for. Lyria's breath hitched, silver flames flickering across her skin as she tried to process the magnitude of Kaelith's words. You mean he's cursed because of me? Her voice wavered. And the bond is not just a bond. It's some divine connection that forces us together. Kaelith nodded solemnly. Yes, Valeria's thorn sought to claim your lineage long before you were born. His obsession was not with a mate in the mortal sense. It was with the power and bloodline you carry. He failed. And in that failure, he became what he is now, cursed, tormented, and maddened by a force he cannot contain. That curse, it is tethered to you, to your very existence. Valerius' eyes narrowed, his usual composure fractured by the revelation Kaelith had delivered. The usual predator lurking beneath the surface of his regal facade shifted into something more primal. Fear. And yet, even fear for him carried its own form of dominance. Kaelith speaks the truth, he said, voice low, resonant, carrying both pain and rage. I have hunted you in my dreams, in the dark corners of my mind. I have chased the echo of your bloodline across the kingdoms. And now... His gaze snapped to Lyria, and for the first time, vulnerability flickered behind his icy eyes. Now I cannot let you go. The pull of the bond tightened, invisible yet suffocating, threading their fates together with a force neither could resist. Lyria felt it tugging at her chest, coiling around her senses, forcing her heartbeat to match his, forcing her wolf instincts to acknowledge him as more than predator, yet also more than mate. He was both her greatest threat and the key to her own destiny. Kaelith stepped closer to Valerius, holding his hands out in a gesture of warning. You will not touch her, not until she decides. The bond may tie you, but it does not strip her of free will. She must choose her path. And Valerius, she must see that the choice is hers, not yours. Valerius' jaw tightened, the lines of power and strain along his face deepening. Choice, he murmured, his voice barely audible. Do you think choice matters when destiny is already decided? His gaze fell back to Lyria, ice-blue eyes glinting with a storm of desire, rage, and something deeper she could not yet name. The bond exists, Luna. You cannot deny it. You cannot ignore it. And you cannot escape it. Lyria clenched her fists, silver flames licking higher along her arms as she stepped forward, meeting his gaze. I will not be claimed by fate alone, she said firmly, wolf instinct sharpening every word. I will decide Valerius. I will not be a pawn, and I will not let the prophecy dictate my choices completely. I can harness the bond. Yes, but I will not let it enslave me. A shiver ran through the forest as her declaration sparked the silver flames into a luminous halo around her wolf form. Kaelith watched closely, sensing the surge of divine energy, aware that this moment would define the next phase of their entwined destinies. Valerius exhaled slowly, the tension in his shoulders easing just enough to show the faintest vulnerability. So be it, he said, voice low but steady. You will decide. But know this, every moment you hesitate, every choice you make against me, will strengthen the curse and bind us tighter. You are my mate, whether you wish it or not. And whether I am cursed or not, I will not let you fall." The words hit her differently than any threat or declaration he had made before. There was danger, yes, and a violent intensity that made her heart race, but also protection, a promise that he would not destroy her without reason, a glimpse of something that hinted at the man behind the monster. Kael'thas's hand still rested lightly on her shoulder, grounding her, reminding her of her purpose. "Lyria," he said softly, "you have a choice to make. The Luna Queen is not simply a figure of power. She is a ruler, a savior, or a destroyer. Valerius is tied to your fate, and only by understanding him and controlling the bond can you determine which path the prophecy will take. You must learn to wield the bond as a weapon, a shield, and a guide. Only then will you survive, and only then will the curse be broken." Lyria's silver flames responded to Kael'thas's words, rippling across her form like waves across a moonlit lake. The pull of Illyria's presence in her veins was still strong, irresistible, and overwhelming, but for the first time she felt the tiniest shred of clarity. The bond was not merely a prison or a chain. It was a tool, a key, a power that, if she mastered it, could tip the scales of destiny itself. Valerius stepped closer, his own aura crackling, blending dark curse with divine attraction. "Do not mistake my restraint for weakness, Luna," he said, voice low, intimate, and dangerous. "I am still alphaking. I am still the storm that bends mountains and breaks warriors. And I am still yours, whether you wish it or not. But perhaps, just perhaps, you can learn to command it alongside me." Lyria's pulse quickened, wolf instincts urging caution, even as her silver flame surged higher in a defiant display. "I will not be controlled," she whispered, voice firm, trembling with both fear and power. "I will not be a shadow in your kingdom. I will not be the prisoner of your curse. I will master the bond, and when I do, I will determine whether you are redeemed or destroyed." A tense silence followed, broken only by the faint rustling of Silver Grove's ancient trees. Even the wind seemed to pause, aware of the divine collision before it. Valeria's gaze softened, if only for briefest instant, and Lyria felt the pull of the bond shift, less like a leash and more like a tether they could, together, command. Kael'th finally spoke, voice steady, but filled with weight. "Prepare yourself, Lyria. The next phase begins now. You are no longer merely the hunted. You are the heir, the Luna Queen in waiting. Your choices will shape kingdoms' destinies, and the very life of the Alpha King standing before you. Learn the bond, harness your power, and embrace your heritage. Only then will Blackthorn see the rise of the true Luna Queen." Lyria exhaled sharply, silver flames cascading down her arms as she shifted back into her human form. Her chest heaved, every nerve alive with the electric charge of destiny. Valeria's presence remained an overwhelming force. But for the first time, she felt a spark of agency, of control, in the storm of their entwined fates. She lifted her gaze, silver hair glowing faintly in the filtered moonlight, and spoke with conviction that echoed through Silver Grove. "I am Lyria Hales. I am the moon goddess Heir. I am the Luna Queen, and I will decide the fate of this Alpha King. Not the prophecy, not the bond, not anyone else." Valeria's icy expression cracked, revealing a storm of awe, frustration, and something dangerously close to reverence. "Then I will wait," he said, voice low, resonant. "But know this, I am patient, and the bond will not be denied." The forest seemed to hold its breath. The moon goddess Heir and the cursed Alpha King, fate and free will, fire and darkness, predator and mate, stood facing each other in Silver Grove, bound by divine threads, ready to decide the destiny of a kingdom. Lyria felt the first tremors of understanding ripple through her being. The prophecy was not merely a warning, it was a test, and she, for the first time, understood that survival, power, and destiny were hers to command. The bond had awakened, and the true journey into Blackthorn, into truth, into power, was about to begin. The first rays of dawn pierced the Silver Grove canopy, streaking the forest floor with a faint silvery glow. Mist clung stubbornly to the undergrowth, curling around the trunks of the ancient trees, as if reluctant to release its hold on the night. Lyria's silver hair caught the light, glimmering faintly like strands of spun moonlight, her wolf instincts whispering that the forest itself was alive, watching, waiting. Beside her, Valeria's thorn sat astride his black battle wolf. The beast's immense form coiled like a shadow ready to strike. His presence, vast and unyielding, radiated power that made every tree bend subtly in his wake. For the first time since she had been pulled from the Bloodfang Pack, Lyria was not the hunted. She was moving toward her destiny, toward the very hard darkness that had haunted her in dreams and visions. And yet, even with Caleb guiding her, every step toward Blackthorn Castle made her stomach knot with tension, anticipation, and the tremor of something she could not yet name. The journey began silently. Valerius rode with careful precision, scanning the forest edges, his eyes piercing to the morning fog like twin shards of ice. Caleb walked at Lyria's side, his cloak brushing the dew-soaked grass, his face unreadable, but his presence a steady reassurance. Behind them, a contingent of Illyria's warriors moved like shadows, disciplined and deadly, silent except for the faint rustle of leather and steel. Lyria's hand brushed absently against her wrist, tracing the faint silver glow of the moon goddess mark. The bond still throbbed within her, a pulse she could feel in her chest as clearly as her own heartbeat. Every beat seemed synchronized with Valerius, every movement and breath tethered to him by the invisible thread of fate. She had no illusions. He could overwhelm her in an instant. But the bond also whispered something else, a promise of power, of partnership, and of choice. She shivered at the realization. She was no longer a powerless Omega. She was the Luna Queen in waiting. Lyria, Caleb murmured, breaking the heavy silence. You must remain vigilant. Blackthorn is not merely a castle. It is a living fortress, attuned to your bloodline. Every wall, every corridor, every shadow, it will test you. Lyria nodded, the silver flames within her simmering, ready to flare at the first sign of danger. I understand. But Valerius, she hesitated, unsure how to voice what churned inside her. He is different. The bond, I can feel him, even when he does not speak. And yet, I do not trust him completely. Kaleta's eyes narrowed, sharp as the edge of a blade. Trust will not come easily, Lyria. That is the lesson of the bond. It is a force of both unity and war. You will learn in time to use it as a weapon and a shield. But beware, your emotions are the easiest leverage against you. Ahead, the forest began to thin, the dense shadows giving way to rolling hills that stretched toward a horizon shrouded in mist. And there, atop the highest rise, Blackthorn Castle loomed like a shadow of night-made flesh. Its walls were jagged, impossibly tall, and carved from black stone that seemed to drink the light around it. Towers spiraled toward the sky, their battlements jagged like the teeth of some ancient, slumbering beast. Dark banners snapped in the wind, embroidered with a thorn and moon crest that marked the dominion of the alphaking. Lyria froze mid-step, her silver flames flickering nervously along her arms. The bond throbbed with intensity, the invisible pull tightening like a vice. Valerius' eyes met hers, and in that instant, she felt the full weight of the Alpha King's gaze, not just his eyes, but his presence, his command, the unspoken authority that had built an empire of fear and power. He was her mate, impossible though it seemed, yet he was also the monster she was destined to confront, to either redeem or destroy. Stay close, he said, his voice low, resonant, carrying across the clearing like the rumble of distant thunder. His battle wolf lowered its massive head, muscles coiling beneath sleek black fur, ready to spring at his slightest command. Lyria obeyed instinctively, matching her pace to Kaleta's, every sense on high alert. The approach to the castle was not merely a journey through space, but a trial of perception. The air shimmered with ancient magic, and Lyria could feel the walls of Blackthorn reacting to her presence, subtle vibrations traveling to the soles of her boots. Every step forward felt like crossing a threshold into a world she had only glimpsed in dreams, a world where power, bloodline, and destiny were intertwined in a deadly dance. Kalitha's voice broke her reverie. The wards here are old, Lyria. Ancient enchantments designed to test the worth of any who enter. Step lightly, speak carefully, and trust in your bond, if only as a guide, not a leash. Lyria swallowed hard, the taste of iron on her tongue as she inhaled. Her pulse raced, but the silver flames within her surged in response, filling her with a quiet, controlled heat that spread from her chest to her fingers. She was not merely walking into a castle. She was stepping into the epicenter of her prophecy, the place where her choices would shape kingdoms, lives, and the fate of the alphaking who waited inside. Valerius dismounted silently, his massive wolf padding to a stop beside him. Without a word, he extended his cloak, a dark shimmer of fabric that absorbed light and shadow alike. Lyria hesitated only for a moment before allowing him to drape it over her shoulders. The gesture was small, but it carried weight, a recognition of her emerging status, of the bond that now connected them, and of the respect, begrudging or not, he was beginning to show. The gates of Blackthorn Castle were colossal, carved with intertwining thorns that seemed almost alive, twisting and shifting subtly as they reflected her presence. Valerius stepped forward first, hand resting casually on the hilt of a dagger at his hip, a dagger that gleamed with black steel etched in runes older than most kingdoms. Lyria followed, Caleb at her side, as the massive doors groaned open, revealing a dark hallway lined with statues of warriors frozen in mid-battle, their eyes glittering faintly as though aware of every step they took. The castle interior was alive. Shadows stretched unnaturally long. Corners seemed to shift just out of the corner of her eye, and the very air thrummed with magic. Lyria's silver flames flared briefly, illuminating the intricate murals that lined the walls. Murals depicting a silver-haired queen whose resemblance to her was unmistakable. Every brushstroke screamed legacy, lineage, and the blood she carried, stolen but not erased. This is my heritage, Lyria whispered, awe and fear mingling in her voice. All of this, it was waiting for me. Valeria's gaze remained fixed ahead, calculating, unreadable. Not waiting, he corrected softly. Hidden, protected, feared, and now finally revealed. Caleb moved slightly ahead, scanning the corridors, eyes flicking at every corner, every shadow. The true test awaits, Lyria. The castle itself will not yield its secrets easily. Its guardians, both living and spectral, will challenge you. Its magic will probe your strength, your control, and your bond with the alphaking. You must be prepared for what lies ahead. Lyria nodded, taking a deep breath. The bond pulsed strongly now, not as a chain, but as a guide, a tether she could feel, powerful and dangerous, leading her deeper into her destiny. She could sense Valeria's presence beside her, a storm wrapped in human form, tethered to her by fate, prophecy, and the divine mark of the moon goddess. The first chamber revealed itself as they passed deeper into the castle, a massive hall lined with towering murals, each depicting moments from the past, wars, hunts, royal decrees. But one image dominated all, a silver-haired queen seated on a throne of intertwined thorns, her gaze fierce, her posture regal, and her bloodline unmistakable. Lyria felt a shiver run through her. The bond throbbed, urging recognition. The castle seemed to exhale around her, alive with anticipation. This was no ordinary throne room. It was a living testament to power, lineage, and prophecy. She moved forward, every step measured, controlled, as Valerius followed silently. The bond pulsed, guiding, warning, and binding them together. For the first time, she felt the weight of destiny not as a burden, but as a mantle. She was no longer the weak Omega of the Bloodfang Pack. She was the moon goddess Heir, the Luna Queen, and she would claim her place, not as a pawn, but as a ruler of her own fate. Kalitha's voice was a low murmur behind her. The hidden chamber waits, Lyria. What lies inside will confirm everything you are and everything you will become. Step carefully. Trust in yourself and in the bond. Lyria's silver flames flared one last time, illuminating the path ahead. She stepped forward, her heart steady, mind sharpened, and the invisible thread of fate pulling her toward the destiny she had fought for every day of her life. Blackthorn Castle loomed around her, dark, ancient, alive, and waiting. And within its walls, something long hidden stirred, alive, breathing, and waiting for her return. The journey had begun. The Luna Queen had arrived. If you enjoyed this story, don't hesitate to subscribe, hit that like button, and share with someone who loves a good twist of fate and passion. I'd love to hear from you. Tell me in the comments, what part stood out to you the most? And if you were in this story, who would you be? And what would you have done differently? Your thoughts might just inspire the next tale.